sometimes life will have you questioning if you're enough, if you can rise again from the places you've fallen. And I'm here to tell you, you absolutely can, because there's a strength inside of you that even life's fiercest storms cannot shake. It's there even when you feel weak. It's there even when you cry. And it will show up when you decide you're not staying in that place of defeat anymore. We live in a world that celebrates perfection, flawless images, carefully curated success stories, and highlight reels that rarely show the messy middle. But can I tell you something? Perfection is an illusion, and the pursuit of it will only leave you exhausted and empty. God never called you to be perfect. He called you to be authentic, real, and unashamed of your journey. Your imperfections are not a liability. They are the very fabric of your strength. You see, every scar tells a story, every mistake holds a lesson, and every flaw that you try so hard to hide is a testimony of your resilience and growth. What you think disqualifies you is often the very thing God will use to reach someone else. People don't connect with perfection, they connect with authenticity. They don't want to hear about a life that's never faced a storm. They want to know how you held on when the winds were fierce, how you kept believing when everything seemed to be falling apart, and how you found joy again after heartbreak. Think about a diamond. It doesn't start as something beautiful and polished. It begins as a lump of coal, pressed and shaped by intense heat and pressure. It's the process, the pressing and refining, that makes it valuable. And the same is true for you. Every trial, every challenge, and every so-called flaw has shaped you into someone stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Your imperfections are evidence that you've lived, learned, and survived what was meant to break you. Stop hiding the parts of yourself that don't fit society's definition of perfect. God sees those parts, and He calls them good. He's not looking for someone who has it all together. He's looking for someone who's willing to be used, even in their brokenness. When you embrace your imperfections, you give God permission to turn your pain into purpose and your mess into a message. And let me remind you, your worth is not tied to your performance. You don't have to earn love, grace, or acceptance. You already have them right here, right now, as you are. There is freedom in knowing that you are enough, flaws and all. When you walk in that freedom, you become unstoppable. No longer bound by the need for validation, you can step boldly into your calling, knowing that your imperfections are simply evidence of God's grace at work in your life. So I challenge you today, stop striving for perfection. Start embracing who you are right now in this moment. Love the parts of yourself that are still healing. Celebrate the progress you've made, even if it's not where you want to be yet. And remember, your imperfections are not your weakness. They are your strength, your beauty, and your testimony. Wear them proudly, because they are a part of the masterpiece God is creating in you. There is something sacred and intentional about your existence. You are not a coincidence, a mistake, or a random occurrence. From the moment God breathed life into you, He set you apart for a purpose uniquely designed for you. There's a calling on your life, and it's bigger than your doubts, your past mistakes, or even your wildest dream. But the key to stepping into that divine purpose is learning to walk boldly in it, without apology, without hesitation, and without shrinking yourself to fit into the world's expectation. The problem is that many of us allow fear and self-doubt to paralyze us. We see our limitations, our flaws, and our shortcomings, and we assume that God can't use us because we aren't qualified. But can I remind you of something? God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. Look at Moses, who stuttered but was chosen to lead an entire nation to freedom. Look at David, a shepherd boy who was overlooked by his own family but was destined to be a king. God specializes in using ordinary people to do extraordinary things. And guess what? He's calling you too. Walking in your purpose doesn't mean you have it all figured out. It means you trust God enough to take the first step, even when you can't see the whole path. It means silencing the voices that tell you you're not enough and choosing to believe the one who says you are fearfully and wonderfully made. It means being obedient even when it's uncomfortable and staying faithful even when the results aren't immediate. Your purpose may not look like anyone else's. And that's exactly how it should be. Stop comparing your journey to someone else's highlight reel. God crafted you with specific gifts, passions, and experiences that are tailor-made for your assignment. If he wanted you to be someone else, he would have made you that way, but he didn't. He made you uniquely, beautifully, and purposefully. Walking boldly in your purpose also means understanding that opposition will come. Not everyone will understand or support your calling. But remember this, if God is for you, who can be against you? Don't let the opinions of others make you question what God has already confirmed. Stand firm in your identity and your calling. When you align yourself with God's purpose, no obstacle can stop you. And don't forget, your purpose is not just about you. It's about the lives you're called to impact. There are people waiting for you to show up fully so they can see what's possible through God's power. When you walk boldly in your purpose, you give others permission to do the same. So today I challenge you, don't shrink back. Don't second guess yourself. Step into the calling God has placed on your life with boldness and confidence. Trust that he has already gone before you to prepare the way. And remember, you were born with a divine purpose. Now it's time to walk boldly in it. Life has a way of throwing unexpected challenges at us, setbacks that can knock the wind out of our sails and make us question everything. Maybe it was a failed business, a broken relationship, a missed opportunity, or a health crisis. Whatever it was, it left you feeling stuck, defeated, and wondering if you'll ever get back on track. But I'm here to tell you, every setback you faced is not the end of your story. It's a setup for your breakthrough. You see, we often think setbacks are detours from our destiny. We believe they mean that we've somehow failed or that God has forgotten about us. But what if I told you that your setback is actually part of God's plan to propel you forward? What if that closed door was protecting you from something that wasn't meant for you? What if that disappointment was preparing you for a blessing bigger than you imagined? Think about Joseph in the Bible. He had dreams of greatness, but life didn't immediately match up with those dreams. He was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. That sounds like one setback after another, doesn't it? But what looked like a series of defeats was actually setting him up for his breakthrough. Every trial refined him, strengthened his character, and positioned him to become the second most powerful man in Egypt. His setback was the setup for his divine purpose. The same is true for you. Your current challenge is not the final chapter. God is still writing your story. And let me tell you something, his stories always have redemptive endings. But here's the key. You have to shift your perspective. Stop seeing your setback as a punishment and start seeing it as preparation. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this teaching me? Setbacks teach us resilience. They show us what we're made of and push us to lean on God in ways we never would if everything was smooth sailing. They strip away our pride and self-reliance and remind us that our strength comes from Him. And when you come out on the other side, you'll be stronger, wiser, and better equipped for your purpose. But let me be clear, your breakthrough doesn't happen by accident. You have to keep going even when it's hard. You have to keep believing even when you don't see immediate results. Breakthrough comes to those who refuse to quit. So don't give up in the middle of your setback. Stand firm in the promise that God is working all things together for your good. Today, I want you to look at your setback with fresh eyes. See it as the setup it truly is. Trust that God is using this season to prepare you for something greater. And when your breakthrough comes, and it will come, you'll look back and realize that every tear, every struggle, and every moment of doubt was worth it. Keep pressing forward because your breakthrough is on the way. There's a weight many of us carry, baggage from our past, disappointments we've clung to, relationships that have run their course, and even dreams that no longer align with who we are becoming. We hold on to these things thinking they define us or that letting go would mean failure. But can I tell you something? Holding on to what no longer serves you will only keep you stuck. If you want to step into your next season, you have to be willing to release what's holding you back. Letting go isn't easy, though. We become comfortable with what's familiar, even if it's no longer good for us. That relationship may be toxic, but at least you know what to expect. That job may be draining your soul, but it pays the bills. That old version of yourself may feel safe, but you know deep down you've outgrown it. But hear me clearly. You cannot step into the fullness of what God has for you while clinging to things that were only meant for a season. Think about a tree in autumn. The leaves that once provided shade and beauty begin to wither and fall. The tree doesn't fight to hold on to them because it understands that shedding the old is necessary for new growth. If the tree clings to dead leaves, it stifles its ability to bloom in the spring. The same principle applies to your life. You have to trust that releasing what no longer serves you will make room for the new blessings God wants to bring into your life. Sometimes what we need to release isn't external, it's internal. Maybe it's fear, guilt, shame, or unforgiveness. These things weigh us down and keep us from walking in freedom. Forgiving someone doesn't mean their actions were okay. It means you're choosing to release the burden of carrying that pain. Letting go of guilt doesn't mean you forget your mistakes. It means you accept God's grace and move forward. Releasing also requires trust. Trust that God knows what's best for you. Trust that even though you don't see the full picture, He's already orchestrating something beautiful. Trust that what's ahead is better than anything you're leaving behind. When you release control, you give God the room to work miracles in your life. So, how do you start releasing? First, be honest with yourself. Identify the things that are no longer serving you. Pray about them. Ask God for the strength and wisdom to let go. Then take action. Whether it's having that difficult conversation, stepping away from a toxic environment, or simply shifting your mindset. When you release what no longer serves you, you create space for growth, joy, and new opportunities. You step into a season of clarity and purpose. You align yourself with God's will for your life. And that's where transformation happens. So today, I challenge you to open your hands. Release the weight you've been carrying. Trust God with your future. And step boldly into your next season, knowing that what's ahead is greater than anything you're leaving behind.